Hi everyone, welcome to Literary Paradise. Today we will be studying The Second Coming by William Butler Yeats, who is one of the most influential poets of 20th century. He also received the Nobel for his fabulous bulk of poems in 1923. Yeats is a globally acknowledged modernist poet of symbolic poetry. So students, many times I told you in our classes that the modern era is known for many unpleasant events worldwide. As the two world wars that showed us the extremity of violence and brutality, and the drowning of the Titanic, which took away popular faces of England and buried them into the deep ocean. Examples are many, but to conclude, we can say that the period of 20th century had not been very amicable and serene to humankind. The present poem by W. B. Yeats indicates towards all mishaps of the bygone century and puts forward some horrible and disheartening pictures one after the other. Yeats wrote this poem in 1919, right after World War I, a global catastrophe that killed millions of people. Yeats envisions a strange and blood-curdling picture of a hybrid animal with a man's head and lion's body. The picture offers many meanings, like it can be the animal aspect of man that is becoming more powerful now. On the other side, it can be the revelation of the next faith of human beings, which is much needed because the growing atrocities across the world show us that the faith has lost its grip on human heart, which has become too hard to absorb the soothing drops of religion. The poem is written in blank verse and it's divided into two stanzas. Let's see the poem now. Turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart, the center cannot hold, mere anarchy is loosed upon the verge. The blood-dimmed tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. See, gyre refers to a circle, wheel, or something spiral. The first phase of this stanza exposes the spiral and a devastating order around which the things are revolving. The falcon is a cunning and sharp bird. Here, falcon refers to the modern man who has become greedy and violent by participating in a blind race of materialism to gratify his unquenchable desires. Ever since this pet falcon has discarded the authority of its owner, it has started revealing its wild habits. Similarly, the modern man has lost his faith, and consequently, he too has started showing his bleak and darker sides. As the wild falconer cannot hear the call of his owner, in the same way, the modern man cannot sense the presence of his creator. Look at the third line. It says things fall apart. This is one of the mightiest lines to denote the horrors of the modern age. I would like to tell you that a well-known Nigerian novelist, Chinua Achebe, has taken this line as a title for his novel. So things have fallen apart because the center could no longer hold them intact. Of course, nothing is more valuable than the individual today. Everybody has chosen his own way to live. There is no common faith, tradition, or culture which holds more significance than the individual. In such a disappointing condition, the order has become anarchic and chaotic. The blood-dimmed tide denotes the extremity of cruelty that Yeats can sense everywhere in the world. Ironically, the ethical order of justice has also been reversed, as the innocent rituals have drowned in this bloody tide. The noble hearts are dormant and just meek watchers of this scary tide of savageness, and the cruel minds have become more passionate following their greedy instincts. Let me bring an important fact to your notice that Yeats was deeply influenced by the Vedantic philosophy. Many of his poems echo the voices of Vedas, Upanishads, and Gita. The significance of this poem's title becomes clearer after this gloomy description of deaths and decline. Most scriptures state that before resurrection and incarnation of God, sin reaches to its highest peak. As Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says, whenever dharma, that is, faith, is on the decline and adharma means lawlessness and injustice is on the rise, I incarnate for the protection of seekers and destruction of evildoers. I'll incarnate in every era. Here, considering this situation, Yeats is of the view that the second coming is surely at hand. The first coming refers to the birth of Jesus Christ, thus the title refers to Yeats yielding for the second arrival of God so that the humanity can be redeemed. Hence, the second coming prophesies a new religion coming into existence. But the origin and development of this religion is likely to go on a different way than the ancient religions in human history. It will begin with a revolution and contain fierceness inside it. Many of our scriptures manifest the incarnation of fire gods. In Hebrew, Zeus, Hera, Poseidon, Calypso, and in Hindu, Rudra, Kali, and Narsimha are some of the best examples of extreme gods who transformed into terrible and violent forms to eradicate sinful operations out of this world. In this context, Yeats is forecasting the arrival of a new Messiah, powerful enough to restore a new world order. Now quickly move on to the next stanza. The stanza goes like, surely some revelation is at hand. Surely the second coming is at hand. The second coming. Hardly are those words out when a vast image out of Spiritus Mundi troubles my sight. Somewhere in sands of the desert, a shape with lion body and the head of a man, a gaze blank and pitiless as the sun, is moving its slow thighs, while all about it reel shadows of the indignant desert birds. The darkness drops again, but now I know that 20 centuries of stony sleep are vexed to nightmare by a rocking cradle. And what rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born. The first two lines are the repetition of the same idea of the expected arrival. It also shows the excitement of our poet to witness the redemption of humankind with a new faith. Now a strange thing happens with the utterance of the second coming by the writer. As soon as he utters this phrase, he feels as if his tongue is choked with something, and a flash of an image pops up in his mind suddenly. Spiritus Mundi is a Latin word which means the word soul that connects all living beings of this planet. To understand this idea, we can relate it to a Hindu concept of Brahm Atma. So this scary picture of the Spiritus Mundi, which is expressed through the image of a beast with human face, terrifies Yeats and stops his tongue to speak further. A shape with lion's body and the head of man can indicate Sphinx, an Egyptian god who is remembered to help Egyptians build monuments in a desert. Of course, the physique of this god has been portrayed as being too horrible, but he had a supreme creative energy that helped Egyptians to complete a grand creation in the desert. Indeed, the modern era, which lacks faith and ethics, can be seen as a barren dry land. When poet tries to interact with this beast, he senses the cruel gaze of this brutal animal. The gaze of this beast has been compared to dry and pitiless sun. Of course, the sun can be taken as a life force that runs all lives in this universe. But the rays of the sun do not know any difference. The hotness of the sun sometimes becomes uncomfortable to people, yet it doesn't belittle the worth of it. In the same context, the image of this new incarnation is so horrifying that it causes birds to fly away with panic. Now, poet says that the last 2000 years of peace will be zucked by the appearance of this creature on earth. Ironically, the cradle, which signifies the bed of an infant, will stir the whole order of this world. The image demonstrates a terrifying aspect of our expected future. Yeats depicts this beast slouching towards Bethlehem, which feels more threatening and menacing than hopeful and promising. Bethlehem is the holy place where Jesus Christ was born, and beast moving towards this place signifies the replacement of the calm and demure God by a fierce and violent one.